welcome back to G2 Gaming with the Gundam Man here, and we are back and we're getting ready to talk some more Star Wars The Force Awakens for you guys. We are now playing Star Wars Battlefront. I hope you guys take a look at. I hope you guys have been playing this game. This game is one of the better Star Wars games made, but at the same time, I find myself not being able to play it for multiple hours at a time because it just lacks that single player campaign. Anyways, but I mean, as a Star Wars game, great game. As a game that somebody who doesn't really play online is about, I play it because it's Star Wars. So, ladies and gentlemen, we are in Star Wars Battlefront. We're going to be doing survival, the Hoth mission. We're probably just going to do it on normal because I want to focus on talking to you guys about Star Wars, The Force Awakens, and all that kind of stuff. And so I'm going to have the Star Wars Battlefront playing as I talk to you guys about this movie. You guys haven't seen it yet, why not? It's been 4 weeks, and you guys really need to go see it. But yeah, this is going to be a follow-up to my spoiler review video that I just posted recently, and we'll be talking about my main personal favorite theory that I've come up with, and that is Rey, and that deals with Rey's lineage. And so I was like, in my spoiler review, I was like, you know, I'm very passionate about my theory about Rey, that it deserves and it should take its own video up, because my reviews are fairly long as it is, and therefore I didn't want to spend too much time, because honestly, had I talked about my Rey theory in that previous video, then it probably would have turned out into about an hour and a half long video. I'm not saying that this is that long, but it might be about as long as my actual review videos, which were both about 40 minutes. I don't think it'll be that long, but it could be. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, let's get to talking. If you've seen my review, my spoiler review, then you already know that I think 100% Rey is Luke Skywalker's daughter. 100%, without a shadow of a doubt, that's gonna happen, and there's nothing you can say or do that will make me think otherwise. I mean, unless I am proven by the actual movie of Star Wars Episode 8 or 9, as they're threatening to not reveal until Star Wars Episode 9. God, don't let that happen, please. But at the same time, I'm gonna adjust this camera down a little bit more. There we go. But at the same time, until I'm proven otherwise by the movies, or even by a comic, I guess. I hope it's not relegated to a comic, but at the same time, until I'm proven otherwise by Lucasfilm or Disney or whatever, that Rey is not Luke's daughter, I am believing 100% without a shadow of a doubt that Luke is Rey's father. Before we get too much into it, let's discuss a couple of let me just go over all of the theories. From ones that I think is least likely to mine. The one I think that is least likely, but I hear a lot, is that she is a Kenobi. At first I kept hearing that she was the daughter of Obi-Wan Kenobi, and I was like, no, that's not gonna happen. And I think I think after people started realizing, oh wait, The Force Awakens takes place 30 years after the original trilogy, which I was surprised that they didn't take that into consideration when making the theory up in the first place. But once they fully understood that, they were like, okay, you're right, Rey, or the other theories about Rey may be a little bit more right, because there's no way in heck Rey can be the direct daughter of Kenobi. And so I think everybody's been reformulating their theory on that one to be Kenobi's granddaughter, which is possible, I guess, but very unlikely because of who I believe an Obi-Wan Kenobi to be. The next one I think is very unlikely, is that she's just a random somebody. and I'll go over a lot of these things a little bit more in detail throughout later on in the video after I'm done talking about my major Rey points. But I don't believe she's just a random somebody. Short answer is because people behind Star Wars, the new trilogy, have said that Star Wars is a story about the Skywalkers, and so therefore she can't be a random somebody. And then my second favorite and second most plausible one is that she's a product of Snoke, if Snoke turns out to be Darth Plagueis, which they've also said Andy Serkis, who plays Snoke, has said that Snoke is not Plagueis, but fingers crossed, if he proves out to be Plagueis, then I will believe that one second most to my theory about Rey. And then we also, and then we have this most popular, probably the most popular, and my theory as well. Luke is Rey's father. Rey is Luke's daughter. 100%. That is true. Drop the mic, walk away. Rey is Luke's daughter. Don't believe me? Well, we'll get into it, and maybe I can sway you a little bit more towards my perspective. But yeah, I'm not really a Star Wars guru, Star Wars know-it-all by any stretch of the imagination. I have seen this movie 7 times, and it was after the 6th time where I stitched everything together. I connected all the pieces and all that kind of stuff, and I was like, wait a minute. 100% certain Rey is Luke's daughter because I put all these pieces together, and now you're going to know why I feel this way and why I believe this way. So without further ado, we shall now continue on to why I believe Rey is Luke Skywalker's daughter. Alright, as I said, well, I haven't said it yet, but this is going to be fairly spoiler heavy, so if you guys haven't seen the movie, you guys need to go see the movie, and then come back. Or if you guys don't want to see the movie, there are plenty of other spoiler reviews and my spoiler review on YouTube. Go find that, and then come back afterwards so you can better appreciate my video. And honestly, if you're even remotely interested in Star Wars and haven't seen this movie, go see it, because then you will understand a little bit more my perspective about who Rey is, versus if you go watch my review video, or if you go watch somebody else's review video and not see the movie yourself. You're not going to really understand what I'm talking about until you've actually seen the movie. So go see the movie, come back, and then you can kind of debate with me if you want, or you can agree with me on why she's Luke's daughter. So again, I've seen this movie 7 times. It's after the 6th that I've actually put everything together. And so now, spoiler alert, let's get going. As I said in my spoiler review, I'm gonna basically restate a couple of the easy ones, the more logical, common sense ones. And the first is she's strong with the Force. She's an excellent pilot, and she has visions of the future, courtesy of the Force. She had a flashback, and then she had a vision of the future. And I am not really playing this game. I basically just shot this the game as is, without any commentary. I tried to do it talking about the subject as it is, and I got too distracted with the game to actually continue saying it. So, but yeah. So that if you see my hands waving around and you see the character still playing, that's why. It's because I've already pre-shot this video that you guys are watching of Battlefront, and recording this talk separately. So yeah. So like I was saying, she's strong in the Force. She's an excellent pilot, and she has visions of the future, courtesy of the Force, and she uses Anakin Skywalker. All 4 of those combined have not been proven and have not been done by anybody else, other than people in that lineage. Anakin Skywalker used it, or was strong in the Force, was an excellent pilot, was probably using the Force before he even knew what it was. And he used his lightsaber, duh, because it's Anakin. And then Luke Skywalker, the exact same thing. Excellent pilot, excellent Force user. Probably using the Force before he even really realized what it was. And he used Anakin's lightsaber. And now, look, Rey's got his lightsaber. She's had visions of the future, and more than one, mind you, more than one. And I'll explain that a little bit later. But she's had visions of the future, and she uses Anakin's lightsaber. She's an excellent pilot, excellent in the Force, yada yada yada. So let's move on. Also, like I mentioned in the spoiler review, she's got pretty convincing dialogue with Maz Kanata. The dialogue that she shared with Maz Kanata right after she has her video, or her vision, mind you. Maz says that there are people that she's waiting for on Jakku, presumably, and of course, that she's waiting to come back, and they're never coming back. But then she says there's somebody who still could come back. And then Rey's immediate line after that is Luke. Okay? Now, in my previous review video, I've said that I've seen a couple of videos on YouTube that say that this is the exact dialogue that says that she's not Luke's daughter. But I beg to differ. Somebody who still could, if they were to just refer to Luke as just somebody, they wouldn't have worded that dialogue like that. That tells me that somebody who still could was part of that group, or that person who left her, or one of the people who left her on Jakku. Maybe Luke was with Han and Leia when they left there on Jakku or whatever, but that's just my thing. I got from that a group of people, or a couple of people, left her on Jakku. Whether that's whether Luke was in that group, I don't know. But this dialogue makes me believe that Luke was with that group, and that Luke still could come back. She says they're never coming back, but there's somebody who still could. Okay, someone who still could. That means it's always a lingering possibility of this person coming back. And then Rey says immediately after that, Luke. Okay, they've pretty much said they've pretty much done everything in the movie short of confirming that Luke is Rey's father. Okay, the next one is also Maz Kanata says that lightsaber belonged to Luke's father, and then it belonged to Luke, and now it calls to you, which means that basically means that, or in my opinion, that tells me that Maz is pretty much saying the lightsaber was owned by Anakin, and then it was owned by Luke, and now it belongs to you. It's in possession of you. So therefore, logically, you have to assume that Rey is Luke's daughter. And like I keep saying, I think this movie did everything just short of coming right out and saying it. It dropped you a lot of big, heavy clues. And again, these are all simple ones. These are all ones that I just gathered from watching it multiple times, or even watching it the first time. After I watched it the first time, I was stone cold locked in that Rey was. I was pretty confident that Rey was Luke's daughter from the first time I watched the movie. But after watching it as many times as I did, hands down, she's Luke's father, or Luke's daughter. Father. We already know who Luke's father is. So yeah, now I'm going to talk to you about a couple of the points that I think are more overlooked. It's either I've seen people talk about them, but not very much, or I haven't seen these people talk about it at all. And you'll see what I mean here in just a second. The very first one that I want to bring up to you is Luke's facial expression at the end of the movie to Rey. I mean, everybody talks about this one. It's like, oh, that look is not somebody that somebody would give their daughter that they haven't seen. And contrary to everybody else, I think that that's a face that you would make when you see your daughter or your kid after you have to leave them for a long period of time and you see them again. Like, I don't want to make this comment lightly, But in my opinion, that's the face that I would look at my daughter, or my son for that matter, if I couldn't provide for him enough and I had to give him up for adoption, or I had to put him in some place, and then he finds me later on in life, like 15 years later, and he sees me and I'm like, what? You're my son. Oh my God. Like that's, I see myself making something like that kind of face towards him. It's like, like, I mean, first of all, Luke kind of seems like he's expecting her.
We have the location of another pod.
He kind of has that surprising look in his eyes, and he has that caring look in his eyes and all that kind of stuff. So, and he has a bit of a worried look in his eyes. In my opinion, I don't think there's much that he should be worried about at that point, other than the fact that, oh crap, once she figures out that I'm her father, what is she gonna do? I mean, I would be very worried as to what my child would do if I hadn't seen them in 15 years, because I said, hey, I'm gonna put you on this planet here, and then in 15 years, if you so happen to find me, then yeah, I mean, if I were to just leave my kid on a planet somewhere or in a far off place, and then and not tell them why or where I was going or whatever like that, possibly even erasing their memory, and then they find me and they start to realize that I'm their father, I'd be a little worried about what they're gonna do next. Like, I'd be worried that they'd be mad at me when they saw me or what. But again, that's why I would be worried. That's why he should be worried. But that's the only reason why I think he should be worried about Rey being there. Other than the fact that there's now two very strong Force users, and if somebody else who's strong in the Force senses that in one location, then they might give away the position that they're at. But I don't think that's gonna happen. Moving on, that facial expression. This one I haven't heard anybody talk about very much at all, actually. But there is a facial expression that Han gives the camera, not Rey, but the camera, that gives me a hint that he knows who she is. And he knows that she is actually Luke's daughter, therefore his nephew. Alright, so if you've seen the movie, then you know what I'm talking about, more than likely. If you don't, go watch it again, because it's very easy to see. So, they land on Maz Kanata's world, alright? And Rey comes running out because she's so excited to see this new world. She says it as they're flying in. I didn't know there was this much green in the whole galaxy. Then they land, she runs outside to see what's outside for her to explore, kind of thing. And then Han walks out after he talks to Finn and gives her the blaster. And then he's like, you might need this. And she's like, I can take care of myself. And then he's like, yeah, I know. That's why I'm giving it to you. And then he's like, do you have a name? And then she says, Rey. Watch in this instant what Han does next. He turns around. Turns away from her, actually. Turns away from her and does like a little lip expression, like a huh expression, like one of these. Like a huh expression. And then he turns around and offers her a job on the Millennium Falcon. Okay? So this could go either one of two ways. One, he knows that she's her nephew, or she's his nephew. Or two, he knows that she is his daughter. Daughter, no. Because he doesn't say it at that point. I believe that if she was his daughter, he would have said it right then and there, or something along those lines. But he doesn't. He offers her the job because I believe that just because Luke couldn't keep his son safe doesn't mean he doesn't want to do, or at least try to do the same thing for Luke's daughter. Once he finds out her name, he's like, oh crap, you're Luke's daughter. I want to keep you safe, so I'm going to offer you a job that keeps you around me. Okay? So therefore, that leads me to believe that she is Han's nephew or Han's niece. I've been saying nephew this entire time. I meant niece, okay? Sorry. Han's niece, therefore Luke's daughter, okay? This is one of the things that is most overlooked. He knows, and I'll get into more reasons why I believe that Han knows who Rey really is. Going immediately following this, very close. That's also overlooked, and that I have not heard one person talk about and I've scoured YouTube videos. Like I've tried to find all these YouTube videos that I can think of for Rey's lineage, and not one have I seen this looked into. Okay, this one I've not seen. All right, so in the scene where you're in Maz Kanata's cantina, I'm just gonna call it a cantina because that's pretty much what it is. Maz Kanata kind of reminds me more of a Jabba character than a Yoda character, but kind of both, if you know what I mean. The first time I saw her, and the first time I was like, that's more like Jabba, not Yoda. And then she talked about the Force with Rey, and then I'm like, oh, I see the Yoda. But anyway, so this one, right after they sit down and Maz Kanata goes through this whole, I'm looking at the eyes of a man who wants to run. And then Finn's like, you don't know me, blah, blah, blah. You don't know what I've been through, blah, 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 blah. And then she's like, those two guys over there will trade work for transportation to the Outer Rim. There you can disappear, blah, 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 blah. And Finn goes off, okay? And then Rey immediately goes off and pursues him to convince him to stay. The second Rey leaves, Maz Kanata fixes her little glasses, turns to Han, and asks, who's the girl? She asks Han Solo who Rey is. That tells me that Maz knows that Han knows something about the girl in Rey. And therefore, it's like, how does this not paint a better picture for you, okay? Han knows who Rey is. From the second she says her name to him, he knows who she is, okay? He knows that she's his niece, okay? Obvious. At least in my opinion. I'm not calling people who don't look at this dumb, but just in my opinion, he knows Rey's his niece, and therefore, Maz knows that Han knows something more than what he's telling the audience, okay? And then going on, back to Maz's dialogue with Rey, right after Rey's vision, Maz sees her panicking outside the room where the lightsaber is, and then, this is going towards the beginning part, or not necessarily the beginning, I guess the middle. This could have been the end, actually. It's somewhere in there where Maz Kanata, yeah, because at the beginning she's talking about the origins and the lineage of the lightsaber. Rey says something about I have to get back to Jakku and all that kind of stuff. Maz says, I know, Han told me, which means Han told Maz everything that she possibly needed to know right after they left the table, okay? A lot of YouTubers and some YouTubers are like, this basically is just saying that Han told Maz that Rey needs to go back to Jakku to wait for her family. Well, if you go back, and I know it's hard to do that right now without the DVD, but you could just go back and see the movie. If you go back to the point where Han and Rey are talking, or where Han offers Rey the job, she never once tells him why she needs to go back to Jakku. As a matter of fact, she doesn't tell anybody else but BB-8 why she's on Jakku, what she's waiting for on Jakku. And people can say, oh, it happened off screen. Well, I don't believe it happened off screen, because if it was going to happen off screen, it would have happened on screen with Finn. Okay? Whenever Finn was plucking and trying to get the answer out of Rey back on the Millennium Falcon. Why are you you're a pilot. Why do you have to go back to Jakku? You have a boyfriend, cute boyfriend, blah, 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 blah. So if it was going to happen on screen, or even if it was going to happen off screen, Rey would have said something and said, but the first thing she says is none of your business, okay? So that tells me that she doesn't really want anybody knowing. And then the only person she tells is BB-8 at the beginning of the movie when they're going to see Ankar Plot after after another day of scavenging, okay? He's like, I'm waiting for my family. They'll be back one day, kind of thing. That's the only time she mentions why she's on Jakku, okay? She doesn't tell Han, and Han tells Maz everything she needs to know about Rey. And that is basically that Rey is Luke's daughter. I know it. After now, you should probably know it. And if you guys don't believe me, go back and watch the movie. And write everything that I'm saying down, and then check them off as they go along, because you'll see every part of this. So like I said, Rey never directly tells Han why she needs to go back to Jakku. The only person or thing she tells in the entire movie is BB-8. All she says to Han is that she has to get back to Jakku and she's been away for too long. So, and like I said, and that is the reason for me knowing that Han knows exactly who Rey is from and where she comes from. Finally, some other things. I mean, not about my defense of why she's Luke's kid. This one's not all that big of a deal because I don't really take a lot of consideration about theories when it comes to the score. But at the same time, everybody knows that the score in Star Wars is meaningful. It's not there for no reason and all that kind of stuff. So to be fair to that point, towards the end of the movie, when Rey is fighting Kylo Ren and she does that force pull out of the lightsaber, really reminiscent of Empire Strikes Back. She pulls the lightsaber, and as she's doing it, when she's doing it, and she lights up the lightsaber, which, by the way, if you've noticed, they light up the lightsaber wrong in this movie compared to the other previous movies. And I'm just saying, like, they do that orange knob at the top of the lightsaber when Anakin and Luke press that little strip button. But anyway, that's a little bit of a kind of thing. But that entire sequence where she force pulls the lightsaber into her hand and lights up the lightsaber and all that, they're playing Luke's theme song or theme in the background of that scene. Now, again, like I said, I don't really put too much consideration of the score in to play, but it is Star Wars. There is a reason for the score to be there, but at the same time, Luke's theme is pretty much the Force theme in the entire Star Wars movie. Like, it's there mainly because of the Force. Like, there's a big Force presence, then Luke's theme is going to be playing. But yeah, not to mention, Rey does have a lot of similar parallels to, as Luke did in the original trilogy. I mean, she grew up pretty much on a desert planet and has a strong ability with the Force, has a strong ability with piloting and all that kind of stuff. And she goes on this journey very similar to Luke's in the original trilogy. But yeah. So that's pretty much all I have to defend why Rey. And I mean, I've technically got more that I can really nitpick about that is just going over my head right now. But the main points that I want to give out are right there. I'm nowhere near done. Well, I'm a little bit. I'm near done, but there are a couple more things that I want to discuss. So let's have a little bit more thought. Here's a few more of my thoughts about the character. Some people think, and I'm one of these people that thinks she was trained as a kid. One of the biggest issues that a lot of people have with this movie is that Rey can almost instantly use the Force as more or less as an intermediate Force user. I'm not gonna say a beginner because she shown more than just beginner type deals, and she's not advanced because, well, I mean, some of the stuff that she does is not really advanced force user-ish. But there are inconsistencies to that, and one of them is, and the biggest thing to combat that entire argument is that she thought Luke was a myth. So how could she have been taught by Luke if she thought, or trained by Luke, who would really have been the only person by this point still to train her, if she was trained before? Like, if she was trained before, she would know Luke is real, but she thinks that he's only a myth. Now, a lot of people said that there was a mental block, a wall that was put in her mind or whatever by Luke, possibly more than likely Luke, to have her forget that entire life until she needed it. But and then if you read the novelization of the movie, when Kylo Ren is interrogating, I say interrogating lightly because it's not really an interrogation, but when he's interrogating Rey in the book, it makes you think that there's like this wall that Kylo Ren runs into when he's trying to get into Rey's head. So that wall is kind of like symbolic of somebody put that there to keep her from accessing that part of her mind or that part of her abilities and stuff, to keep her a little bit off the radar. I'm not really going to debate on why I think the relationship between Kylo Ren. I don't know if they know her. I don't know if Kylo Ren knows her or not. But going on, let's delve into this idea a little bit. In the movie, there are inconsistencies to think that that Kylo Ren knows her, but at the same time, there are. But if you read the novelization of the movie, it's a little bit obvious that she's that he knows her. So to start from the movie aspect, whenever he's told that there was a girl that was helping after he blows up, and the guy says they were helped by a girl, he turns around, force grips this guy, pulls him towards him, and says, "What girl?" And then, ironically, when he sees Rey and freezes her because she's shooting at him, when he freezes Rey and walks up to her, he's like, "So you're the girl I've heard so much about." That tells me, that makes me believe that he didn't really know who she was. And then his dialogue with Snoke after Rey denies him access to her mind, after Rey resists him, the scavenger resisted you. This is Snoke. The scavenger resisted you, and then Kylo Ren's like, "She's strong in the Force, but not stronger than me," or whatever. And she's strong in the Force, but I'm stronger than she knows, and then all that kind of stuff. So that leads me to believe that Snoke doesn't even know who she is, and the fact that Kylo Ren's surprised at how adept with the Force that she is, kind of is off kilter. But in the novelization, in that scene where Rey pulls the lightsaber out of the snow and lights it up, Kylo Ren exclaims in the book novelization, "It is you." So that tells me, from the book standpoint, that Kylo Ren actually knows who Rey is. But in the movie, the only time we really think or have reason to believe that Kylo Ren knows who Rey is whenever he force pulls the guy with the bad news to him and says, "What girl?" And that's it. So I'm gonna leave that alone now. But I will talk a little bit more. Like I said, I personally think that she was trained by Luke before she was put on Jakku, because we obviously know from her flashback that she was put on Jakku when she was, I'm guessing, 6-7 years old. And she was in possession of Unkar Platt, who's that big fat guy that's giving her rations. Which, by the way, took me to the 7th time when I saw the movie that I was realizing that she was saying that Unkar Platt put the compressor on the hyperdrive and all that kind of stuff. Anyway, we're getting off topic. But arguments for the fact that she had been trained recently. She knew the mind trick thing that she could do. She could do the mind trick. She could do the force pull and all that kind of. She knew that stuff. The most important thing that really gives this away, in my opinion, that I haven't really heard very many people talk about either, is that she knew about the Jedi Warrior. All right. Now, if you guys don't know what the Jedi Warrior is, it's fine. It was only mentioned once in the entire movie, and it was quickly. So let me paint the picture for you. The Jedi Warrior, I'm going to basically come out and say it. Han, in this scene on the Millennium Falcon, right after they find out that Han is Han and all that kind of stuff, Han's like, Luke went off in search of the very first Jedi Temple. And then Rey lights up like a light bulb and says, the Jedi Warrior. And then she goes on and says, I've heard stories and stuff. So she knows about this very first Jedi Temple. How? I mean, if it's... Okay, and let me get back to this, okay?
You're on your way.
I'm reading off of a bullet point, and I'm trying to, and I've got them all like scattered, which is very bad for me. But I'm trying to think about the next point that I'm gonna give to you. She knows what the Jedi Warrior is. My thing is, how does she know that? She's heard stories, but by who? I mean, I've come to the conclusion that Rey is one of the few people in the galaxy, or a few people in that area of the galaxy that thinks Luke is real, that thinks, or that thinks Luke is a myth or was a myth. Everybody else that you come in contact to in The Force Awakens seems to know that Luke is not a myth, that he's real. The old guy at the beginning of the movie, Kylo Ren knows he's real, Poe Dameron knows he's real, Leia knows he's real, Han of course knows he's real, Chewbacca knows he's real, pretty much everybody in the First Order knows he's real, pretty much everybody in the Resistance knows he's real. We don't really know about the New Republic that much, but I would venture to say the New Republic probably even knows Luke is real. But yeah, so but you wonder if she thought all of this was fake, or not fake, but a myth. How does she know about the Jedi Warrior? Where has she heard stories about this? And if she heard stories on Jakku, how does she even understand what it is? Okay, was she literally standing next to the people telling the stories the entire time and just eavesdropping on the entire thing and heard it that way? I highly doubt that. But she dreams, and then it go back into the scene with Kylo Ren, and he describes the dream of an ocean and an island, which we see at the end of the movie. Everyone thinks, a lot of people that I've talked to, a lot of people that I've seen on YouTube, think that she's lived there before, prior to her days on Jakku. I don't believe that, and I don't think it's possible, because think about this. I believe that was a vision of the future. I believe what she was seeing was her approach into that area, but much like Anakin and Luke's Force vision. More so Anakin's, because Anakin had dreams about the visions. Luke, we never know if Luke had a vision in his sleep, but we know Anakin has had visions in his sleep. So I think this is a very similar way of Anakin. Like, she's sleeping and she's dreaming about this island in the middle of an ocean, which you see at the end of the movie. And I don't think she's been there, because this is Han's word, or not exact word for word, but Han says that Luke went to go search for the first Jedi Temple, and then Rey lights up, says the Jedi Warrior. I've always heard stories, yada yada yada, which means to me, Luke went to go search for the first Jedi Temple, which means it needed to be found, which means that it was lost, okay? Furthermore, which then therefore means that I believe that there's probably nobody left on that island. That means that he needed to find the island, therefore he would have needed to go to it, taken Rey off of that island, put her on Jakku, and then just to have her come back to that island. All right, that doesn't make sense from a story plot, in my opinion. So she couldn't have stayed there. Okay. Furthermore, to prove that This place was just recently found by Luke. BB-8 was carrying a map, a fragment of the map that showed no recorded planets based on what C-3PO said to Leia. And it was completely broken and therefore wasn't very valuable because none of the planets in that map were recorded already, okay? So that's why I don't think she was living on the planet that they found Luke on, because that is the Jedi Warrior, in my opinion. I believe that that's the Jedi Warrior, and Leia probably just knows about it because of her training with Luke. Luke was training her before she went to Jakku, and therefore, based from that, that's how she knows about the Warrior. So again, I do not believe Rey was actually on that planet before, but I do believe she had been trained at a younger age, possibly by Luke, because he is her father, and that he left her on Jakku to keep her safe after Kylo Ren said, or Kylo Ren killed everybody. So also Unkar Platt, I do not believe is as good of a person as everybody thinks. He tries to have BB-8 stolen violently from Rey, but in the novelization of the movie, he actually pursues Rey to Maz Kanata's world and gets killed by Chewie by getting his arms ripped off. Okay, that tells me that Unkar Platt was not as goody two shoes of a guy as we might think. Even though Rey was obviously, it seemed like Rey was obviously left in care of Unkar Platt. But I believe he was probably more of a Watto role to Rey than a trusted person. Maybe she was sold into slavery, or maybe Luke had to pay Unkar Platt to keep her there and keep her safe. I don't know. But yeah, we're almost. It's reached the length of my previous videos, my previous reviews. But I will talk to you guys a little bit more about. Or just finish this up fairly quickly, I hope. Arguments against any other theory. First off, the only other theory that I'll support openly is if Snoke turns out to be Plagueis, then I'll believe second most that she is a reincarnation of Anakin or the Chosen One, all midi-chlorian, and all that kind of stuff. She cannot be Kenobi because, like I said previously, she'd have to be at least a grandkid. But my main reason for that is I don't think as strict of a Jedi as Obi-Wan Kenobi was, I don't think he would have broken Jedi code to love somebody in his exile on Tatooine. Besides, we see his home. He's alone. He's alone. So I don't think he had a wife or a kid. Also, I think he was afraid that if he did fall into that, he might turn out like Anakin. Maybe not all Vader-like, but dark side. That, and everybody says he stopped being a Jedi once he went into exile on Tatooine. No, he didn't. At the end of Revenge of the Sith, Yoda says, "I have more training for you." And it involved communing with Jedis who have already passed, and he's like, "Qui-Gon, oh my gosh!" So he's trained more in the Force during his time on Tatooine. She's not Leia and or Han's because they would have said it around the time Han was trying to offer Rey the job on the Millennium Falcon. Much like they said in the movie that Kylo Ren was Han's son, or was Han and Leia's son. They would have done it in the movie. Also, I don't think it's Leia's. I don't think she could be Leia's with another baby daddy, because they were technically married according to the novelization. And she can't be Han's with another baby mama, because then how would she be so powerful in the Force? And I will dispute that following question in a minute. And then she can't be just anyone, because a lot of people related or closely involved with the making of Star Wars says that Star Wars is a Skywalker story. It's a story about the Skywalkers. And unless they plan on making this whole trilogy about Luke, which they kind of can't, again, it's not Kylo Ren, because Kylo Ren is Ben Solo. Okay, he's otherwise known as Ben Solo. I don't care what you say, but he's Leia Skywalker's kid. Well, technically speaking, if you go off the basis that Han and Leia were married, as they were in the novelization, they are now Mr. and Mrs. Solo, traditionally in current American form. They're Mr. and Mrs. Solo, therefore Kylo Ren, or Ben, would now be Ben Solo, not Ben Skywalker or anything like that. Kylo Ren would not be the Skywalker in question for the trilogy. And then a couple other points, very quickly, hopefully. People argue that the Force doesn't necessarily work in genetics and through heredity and all that kind of stuff. But if that were the case, why are there now 3 generations of Skywalkers that have strong Force abilities? I mean, think about it. You go from Anakin Skywalker directly to Luke and Leia, okay? Directly to Luke and Leia. And then you go from Leia to Ben Solo, aka Kylo Ren, okay? So if it didn't work that way, how come it worked that way 3 straight times in the same family, okay? And again, that also goes to the fact where I think that also proves Rey's lineage to Luke. Rey is Luke's daughter, like I've said multiple times in this video. Like I said, if that were the case and it didn't work in genetics, where are your argument for why Leia and Luke were so strong in the Force? Because yes, Leia is strong in the Force. She just didn't choose to become a Jedi. If Force sensitivity didn't really work, then why did it work from Leia to Kylo Ren? People, the other biggest point that people want to say about Rey and Luke, Rey not being Luke's daughter, comes down to the mother. Okay, everybody's like, if Rey really is Luke's daughter, then what about the mother? The mother honestly doesn't really matter. Okay, and I'm not saying women and mothers are not important. I love my mom a lot. But does it really matter if we know who Rey's mom is? I mean, think about it. We were in the exact same position throughout the entire trilogy, the original trilogy about Luke and Leia. Mainly Luke, because we didn't really care about Leia other than the fact that she was Princess Leia, and that was she was one of the big 3 in the trilogy. We didn't really care much about who Luke's mother was. The only line that we ever knew about Luke's, there was like 1 to 2 lines, maybe 3 at most, in the entire original trilogy that talked about who Luke and Leia's mom really were. And if it weren't for the prequel trilogy, we would have never learned the answer to that. Okay, so why does it matter? If it didn't matter with Luke, why does it matter with Rey? Okay, it's just I don't understand it. But yeah, that's pretty much my entire video. I know I kind of ended it a little bit of abruptly, but that's about the entire video. I hope you guys enjoyed. Leave a comment. This is a very passionate subject of mine. I really enjoy talking about Star Wars, and specifically this. I have arguments to a lot more things that I've heard from them, but at the same time from other people. But it's just one of those things. It's like, I don't believe that Rey can be anybody else but Luke's kid. I mean, and I could go on and on, go more into my thoughts, but this is an in-depth look at what I think, but I could go deeper, believe me. But yeah, that'll do it for this video, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you guys enjoyed. Leave a like, leave a comment, leave whatever it is you want. Comment on your theories and your thoughts about what I have said, what you have seen from the movie, and all that kind of stuff. Try to explain certain parts of the movie that you think I might have missed or might not have understood or whatever. That's up to you. But again, and then I will read everything, and I will reply to what I feel is necessary, is not, I'm not going to say worthy, because everybody, if you take the time to comment on my videos, it is worthy enough to reply to. But yeah. So again, I hope you guys enjoyed. Like it, comment, subscribe for more Star Wars and for more videos in general. Like I said, I'll be bringing back Assassin's Creed Syndicate. Hopefully, we need to really dial down on that and finish that out, and then start back on the grind. So, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you guys enjoyed. Adios. Peace. Until next time.